Don't you hit record? Fantastic. Now just turn the controls over to me. Everybody, welcome. I'm glad that you're coming here tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about several different things. And really, I want you to look at this as a 3-day series. I want you to look at this as a 3-day series. And over the next 3 days, there's some ideas that I want you to pick up. There's some skills that I want you to pick up. There's some concepts that I want you to pick up. And there's some techniques that I want you to pick up. And I want you to pick them up over the next 3 days. So what we do today, we're going to build on tomorrow. We're going to build on the 3rd day. And one of the things I love about working with people who are learning the art of speaking or learn the art of communication is getting them to be participatory, giving them the opportunity to participate. So all I'm going to do real quick right now is I just want to check and make sure you can hear me. So if you can hear me, everybody put in the chat, I'm ready. Just put in the chat, I'm ready. The universe rewards those who take action differently than those who don't. Great. All right. Robin's ready. Morris is ready. Momo's ready. Harriet's ready. Faith is ready. Valerie's ready. Edward's ready. iPhone's ready. It's going faster than I can keep up. I love it. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready too. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me just set this up. There, Lawrence is ready. I'm going to set this up and I'm going to share my screen. And as I share my screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a chance to tell you or show you who I am. So again, I'm Ruben West. I'm the CEO of R West Enterprises. I'm the founder of Black Belt Speakers, which is a speaker training organization. And so what I always say is I help people put the punch in their presentation, but I'm a global speaker. I speak around the world. I get a chance to meet with world leaders. And so I'm excited to have the chance to meet with you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share you a few of my philosophies and then let you get to know me a little bit better. And here's a thing that I believe, that a leader must master their personal vision, their professional vision, and then help others develop their vision. And that's exactly what you guys are doing through this training. You're mastering your vision when you decide, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to go. And then you're also learning skills and techniques to help others master their vision so that you can bring them with you. Everybody always says this, and you may have heard this before, it's lonely at the top. Has anybody ever heard somebody say it's lonely at the top? That's something that they say in the US all the time. They'll say, it's lonely at the top. And then I always say, that's because you didn't bring anybody with you, right? That's because you did not bring anyone with you. So you must see your vision and then lift others as you climb. Just to give you a chance to see who I am, I've gotten a chance to speak all over the world through individual presentations, group presentations, workshops, meetings, conferences, you name it. This is me over in Nairobi, Kenya. I was doing some training for the hospitals in the pictures up above. And then I had an entrepreneur conference in the pictures down below. But I love working with entrepreneurs. I worked in surgery for 29 years. In the US, I helped develop the surgical assistant profession in my state. I wrote the textbook, scope of practice, job description, college curriculum, along with a few colleagues. And so speaking to healthcare professionals, that's right up my alley too. This is me speaking in New Orleans, Louisiana. At the top, at the bottom, I was doing a corporate training for this organization called The Firm in Muscat, Oman. Now, this is me in Bahrain. You see the same background that I'm using today on my green screen. And then down below, you see me training in Texas. I've done corporate presentations, college presentations that I've been invited in. Top left corner, I was the keynote speaker for the Global Women's Voice Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. And then at the top left here is Capital Paints in Dubai. The bottom left, that was in Dubai as well. Top right, that was in the US. Bottom right, that was in Nairobi in 2019. I only showed you that because I want you to understand that I'm not telling you something I don't know. I'm showing you that because I get a chance to speak to a lot of individuals, small groups, large crowds, dignitaries, you name it. And what I'm going to share with you is some fundamental principles of speaking. Now, I've asked Otis to share with you a document. And I came up with this document. I use it in my training, and I asked him to share it with you. And then I'm going to go through some of the content on that document. But I want to go through a sample presentation for you real quick, because I want you to get a feel for what I'm going to share and how I'm going to share. And then I'm going to show you some techniques that I use when I put these presentations together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up my next set of slides, and I want to tell you about an individual, and then I want to tell you about an experience that I had in Guyana, South America. I got a chance to go to Guyana, South America. I got a chance to meet the vice president, spend some days with him. And then while I was there, I met this gentleman. His name was Dr. Estelle Collins, and he was running for office. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see, screen share, advance. There we go. And then I'm just going to let me close down my thing. And then I'm going to just shrink this down a little bit so that you focus on what's on the screen. There we go. Great. So I got a chance to go to Guyana, South America, and I got a chance to meet this gentleman right here. His name is Dr. Estelle Collins. And when I went to Guyana, Dr. Estelle Collins was running for office. He was running for the constituency. And when he was running, he made some promises. Now, I would imagine that if you've heard various speakers or trainers, or if you've heard various politicians, you hear them make promises. They'll make promises up front. Speakers and trainers will make that up front. Over the next 30 minutes, you're going to gain this knowledge. They're making a promise. Well, guess what? People who are running for office make promises. People who are running corporations and companies, they make promises. Hey, if we hit these targets, if we hit these numbers, here's what I'm going to do for the group, or we can all expect to share in a bonus. Everybody makes promises. Well, that's exactly what Dr. Estelle Collins did. He made promises. He said, look, if I win, there's some things that I'm going to do. If I win, there's some things that I'm going to do for the people in the area in which I serve. And so when we were going to Guyana, South America, he was running for office. They were going to have the vote. And the good news is I was going to get a chance to meet him after he had already taken office. Here's a picture of Dr. Estelle with Prince Harry. And they were doing some work together. I mean, this guy is pretty prominent. I loved getting a chance to meet Dr. Estelle Collins, because he committed to doing work if he won the election. Now, I want to ask you, have you heard of politicians, and just put yes or no, but have you heard politicians make promises when they're running for office? If you have, put yes in the feed. If you've heard them make promises when they're running for office, put yes. Okay, so everybody's heard them make promises. Well, that's exactly what Dr. Estelle Collins did. And let me tell you some of the promises he said. He said, our area needs some work. And if I win, if you elect me, I'm going to be one of those people who come and I'm going to work on our area. In other words, I'm not just going to tell you to go work. If you elect me, me and my team are going to be out there with you doing the work. And so we need to clean this area up. We need to make it look much more beautiful. But if you elect me, me and my team are going to be out there doing the work. Here's another thing he said. He said, you know, we have areas where water runs through right out of the homes. And the problem is there's people in our area with wheelchairs. And the problem with the wheelchairs is when we dig the ditches to run the water through so that it doesn't flood, now they can't get across the ditch with their wheelchair. And so here's what me and my team are going to do. Me and my team, if you elect me, all those homes that need a bridge or some kind of platform going across the ditch, we're going to make sure they get built. And it's not like we're going to have somebody else come in and we're just going to be waiting. Guess what? We're going to get out there ourselves and we're going to help dig the ditch. Now, the problem, right, there's a challenge with making all of these promises. And the challenge is people expect you to keep those promises, don't they? See, when people make promises as elected officials, people expect them to keep those promises. Here's another promise he made. He said, you know, since I've been a little kid, I've never seen lights in this area. I've never seen the kids be able to come out at night, play stickball, play baseball, play football, play soccer, not at night, because at nighttime it's dark. And so if I get elected, what I'm committing to do is that not only I'm going to help clean up this area, me and my team are going to be out there personal. Not only am I going to help build the bridges and dig the ditches so that we have the water controlled and we have a way for the people in wheelchairs to get across the water, but I'm going to make sure that the lights get put up in this area like they should have been a long time ago. They should have been up a long time ago, but for whatever reason, they haven't been put up. I'm going to make sure they get put up. All you have to do is elect me. Just elect me. Here's another thing he said. If you elect me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get people that will donate, and I'm going to donate myself, but we're going to have a community shed. And in this community shed, we'll have all of these tools that people can check out. We'll have rakes and we'll have shovels and we'll have gardening hose and all these different things so that we can make it look nice. We'll have wheelbarrows so we can dump out the waste and haul rocks around. We're going to have all of these things, and they're going to be in a community shed so that when you want to do work on your property, you may not have these tools. You don't need to. If you elect me, I'm going to make sure that they're available, and all you'll have to do is come sign for it, and you can check them out in the community shed. And so Dr. Estelle Collins made a lot of promises to his constituents based on the fact that he would be elected. And the reason I'm sharing this story with you is because it also talks about leadership. See, we're not only talking about speaking or communicating, we're talking about leadership. And leadership is the ability to motivate people to do something, to move them in a direction. And I believe that your ability to communicate, your ability to talk, is the number one way to get people to take action. It's the number one way to get people to move in the right direction. Speaking, talking, what we're doing right now. And we know that talking and communicating is the number one way that politicians get people to vote. It's the number one way. And so Dr. Estelle Collins was using the number one way to get people to take action, to get people to move, and to get people to vote. And he made these promises. He said, look, if you elect me, I don't know what they've done in the past. And I don't know why the whole time I've lived here and you've lived here in Campbellville, I don't know why we've never had lights in the field. I don't know. I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't tell you why we've never had a community shed. I can't tell you why we let the water run through and it's muddy and people have a hard time moving around. I don't know. But if you elect me, I'll make sure these things get done. And so he was not only talking about the way of communicating that gets people to take action, he was also talking about what he was going to do if he got elected. And we know that politicians all the time make these promises. Now, I got a chance to fly from the United States of America to Guyana, South America, and I got a chance to meet with Dr. Estelle Collins. And what I love about Dr. Estelle Collins is he has an organization called BD1, B to One Leadership, where he teaches leadership to the people in his country. And so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen again, and I'm going to show you some things about Dr. Estelle Collins. And you're going to like this. Hold on. Let me share my screen again. I'm going to share a portion of my screen. Here we go. This is Dr. Estelle Collins again, when he was running for office. Right? And look right here, it says cleaning and maintaining drains, fields, and general environment. Street lights to address security concerns, cultivating a more cohesive partnership between the residents and the service provider. Do you see that? Those things were actually on his flyer. And he put those flyers up around Campbellville, and he put those flyers up on billboards, and he put those flyers up on telephone poles. And he had these flyers at the post office, and he had the flyers at the stores. And he didn't just talk about it. He literally wrote down every single thing he was willing to do if he got elected. And so let me show you something. He said, Vote for Estelle Collins. And here's why he told them to vote. Look at this. Better matters. Better matters. Better. It matters. And so now the question is, what did Dr. Estelle Collins do? Well, you see, Dr. Estelle Collins himself is out there with the weed whacker, with the weed eater. And I want you to look at the side of the grass. You could see how high it was before he got out there and start cutting it down. But do you see that that's Dr. Estelle Collins himself out there cutting grass? Do you guys see that? Like, he's out there. He didn't just send people out there. He went out there himself. Now, let me show you this. Do you see, this is Dr. Estelle Collins himself with the wheelbarrow. Do you guys see that? He's got the wheelbarrow and he's filling in these spaces where the rocks are missing in the street. And then they came back and they busted these rocks down so that they could fill in that space with the gravel. Do you guys see that? This is Dr. Estelle Collins. This is him in action. I want you to see that he's a person of his word. Now watch, because he kept showing up and because he kept coming out to get people to take action, and because he didn't tell them go do it, he said come do it. I want you to see now, here's Dr. Estelle Collins out there doing it, but do you see how the people from the neighborhood are coming to do it? Do you guys see that? Now also, do you see this trench right here that they've dug? This was before, this is after. This up here was before, this is after. Remember, I told you there was water that came through and it would sog the ground. So what they said is we have to build some trenches so that the water can get through. Now, the problem with building trenches for the water to get through was what? There's people who had wheelchairs in their neighborhood and they weren't able to get across the water. So now look, here's Dr. Estelle and here's his team doing exactly what they said. They're building bridges for the people who had the wheelchairs so that as the water ran underneath, they could get through. As the water ran underneath, and we just built these trenches, we don't want you to be stuck in your home, so we're going to build you a bridge to go from where you live to the other side so you can get through. Another thing he said is, look, he said, there's just general cleanup we need to do. So you see how they got the truck coming in and all the people in the neighborhood are out there helping with the general cleanup. Dr. Estelle didn't say, go do it. He said, come do it. He said, let's do it together. Oh, and here's another thing. Remember, he said that they were going to have a tool shed. This is just what I contributed. I said, Dr. Estelle, I've never seen anybody like you. And so my wife and I sent money to contribute to the community tool shed. They had other tools, but these are just the tools that we paid for, and they were in the community tool shed, and it allowed people to come and check out the tools and then go and help Dr. Estelle Collins when they were out there cleaning and when they're out there building their neighborhood. Here's the last picture I want to show you. There's the lights. You remember I told you that he said they had never had lights in Campbellville at night, not in the park, not where the people could play, not where the kids could play, where they could have kickball and softball and soccer. They could be out there having fun. Once it got dark, they had to go home. There was no lights. But Dr. Estelle Collins made a promise that he would make sure there was lights. And I just want you to see that there was lights. So now here's what I want you to grasp. He said we needed a tool shed, they got it. He said we needed to dig these ditches and trenches, they did it. He said we needed a bridge over the water, they put them there. He said we needed a community shed where people could come and check out tools, they put them there too. Everything that Dr. Estelle Collins said he was going to do, he did. And what was his one condition? He said, listen, I will do all of these things if you do what? Elect me. If you say I get the job, if you vote me in, I'll come do all of these things. You got that? That's leadership. But it's also a powerful story. That's leadership, but it's also a powerful story. Now, one of the things that I'm going to tell you is when you use stories in your presentation, this is a technique. Now you got the form already. So he said he already gave it out. So let me see if I can pull it up on my screen, and then I'm going to go through it with you. So he said, look, Dr. West, I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to share it. And then he said he already sent it to you. So great. Now I'm going to share it on my screen, and I'm going to tell you the details of this formula. So this is what your sheet should look like, right? And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the elements. Watch this. This is called the story time formula, STORY. Tomorrow we'll deal with TIME. But for the first part of it, S, the first thing we have to do is we have to set the scene. Where did the story take place? Create an introduction, have the visual, auditory, emotional, all the relevant details. And you see that I set the scene. I told you that I was going to Campbellville or to Guyana, South America. I told you that Dr. Estelle Collins was running for office and that I was going to meet him right after the election. I told him that he had made these promises for the people in his community. So I set the scene. The next thing is you have to take them on a ride. That your story has to have highs and lows. It has to have ups and downs. It has to have twists and turns. So on T, I want you to write that down, fill in the blank. And if you don't have the form in front of you, just write it in your notes and somebody type it in the feed. Take them on a ride. Your audience, you have to take them on a ride. Here's the next thing. Oh, there has to be an obstacle. There is no good story that doesn't have an obstacle. We don't watch a movie that doesn't have an obstacle. They were born, they had a great life, nobody had problems, they lived happy ever after. Nobody would watch that. It doesn't work. There has to be an obstacle. So for O, write in the chat, obstacle. There has to be an obstacle. R, there has to be a resolution. How does the story resolve? How does the story end? Is there a hero? Did they give up? Did they triumph? There has to be a resolution to the story. And then watch this on Y. Y stands for you make the connection between the story or the characters in the story and the people in the audience. You make the connection. I'm going to say that again. S, set the scene. T, take them on a ride. O, have an obstacle. R, resolution. There has to be a resolution. And Y, you make the connection between the people in the story or the characters in the story between the people in the audience. You got that? Set the scene. Take them on a ride. Have an obstacle. Have a resolution. And then you make the connection between the people in the story and the people in the audience. Make sure you write that down. Make sure you write that down. Now, I'm not finished with the story yet, but I wanted to show you the elements of the story. So as I go back and put this together, you'll see. Because I told you, and I'm going to see how well you were listening. Let me say, one person unmute their line. I'm going to ask you some questions. One person unmute their line. I want to ask you some questions. One person, whoever it is, unmute and say, I'm ready. Unmute and say, I'm ready. One person.
Yeah, I'm already.
Thanks, Joseph. Let me ask you a question. I went to Guyana, South America, and I met Dr. Estelle Collins. And when I went there, what was he doing?
Come again?
When I went to Guyana, South America, to meet Dr. Estelle Collins, he was in the process of doing what? Do you remember?
No, I joined a little late.
Okay, he was in the process of running for office. So he was in the process of running for office. And yes, exactly. Lauren said he was campaigning for office. Now, here's another thing. He made a few promises. Who can tell me what one of those promises was? He said, if I get elected, I'll do certain things. Who can tell me what one of those things were?
Yeah.
Yes, Faith.
He said he would build a bridge.
Yes, he said, if you elect me, I will build a bridge over the ditches that we dig because the people who have wheelchairs will not be able to get across. Thank you, Faith. I'm glad you're paying attention. Can anybody else tell me one more thing he said he was going to do? Joyce?
Yes, he said he was. Yeah, he said you're going to ensure that there be light in the city.
Come on. He said, you know what? I've lived here all this time, all my life. All of these politicians have come before me, and we've never had lights in the neighborhood. That at nighttime, the kids can't go out to play. We're scared. The criminals come out because there's never been any lights. But if you elect me, I'm going to put the lights up. Joyce, thank you. Can anybody else tell me one more thing he said?
He also talked about cleaning the city.
Yes, he said, not you, we are going to clean this area together. We're going to do it. Not just you, me and my team are going to do it. And let me tell you what made Dr. Estelle stand out as a leader. When he first said he was going to do it, him and his team went out there, they were by themselves. You know why? Because you have to change people's attitudes. You know, the people are like, what do you mean we're going to go out here and clean the sewers? What do you mean we're going to go out here and clean the drainage ditch? What do you mean we're going to come out here and cut this grass? What do you mean we're going to come out here and build these bridges? What do you mean we're going to come out here and dig these ditches and dig these trenches? What do you mean we're going to come out here and haul all these things around? What do you mean? I'm not coming out there. You go out there. And guess what he had to do? He had to show up first. He had to show them how to do it. Leaders just don't point the way, they show the way. They go the way and they allow other people to follow. And Dr. did every single thing that he said he was going to do. Morris, you have a comment?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Morris.
Yeah, here.
I actually have a comment, and that comment is like when he promised to do all those things, he did not sit behind the scene and push the people that work with him to do it. But himself was part of the process and motivating the people to work along. And I do believe that was one of the reasons why they were successful in doing what he promised to do, because he did not sit by and look at them, but he was also involved physically in a.
Morris, you're absolutely right. Now watch this. I want everybody to put their phone back on mute. I want everybody to put their computer back on mute and let me, I'm not done yet. I'm not even done yet. Let me finish the story.
Hello?
Yes. All right.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you. Who am I speaking with?
Yeah, this is Maurice Repu.
Yes, Maurice.
I'm saying, with all the reason why it was successful is because he did not sit by to look at them doing it.
Yeah,
he
I heard
was
yes.
implementing what he promised to do.
Exactly. Yes, I agree. I agree. You're exactly right. Now watch this. Put your phone back on mute. Put your computer back on mute, and let me finish the story. Now watch this. I told you that Dr. Estelle Collins said, "Look, I'm making some promises. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to keep my word. If you hire me, if you elect me, if you vote for me and you vote me into office, here's some things I'm going to do. I'm going to clean, I'm going to collect, I'm going to connect, I'm going to clean up, I'm going to provide this shed, community shed where all the people can come and check out tools and then use them. And then you can check them back in. And you don't have to pay, it's going to work." And then he got out there first, and because they saw him keep showing up, people decided to join in. People decided to team up with him, and they got the work done. But I didn't tell you something. You ready? He didn't win. He lost the election. Oh my goodness. Did anybody hear what I said? When I got to Guyana, South America, Dr. Estelle Collins, who was running and made all of these promises, he lost the election. But he said, watch this, the people deserve it anyway. Oh, come on, somebody. He said, the people deserve it anyway. No, I'm not kidding you, Momo. He said, the people deserve it anyway. So since they deserve it, I'm going to go out there and do it anyway. And so what happened was Dr. Estelle Collins started going out there on a regular basis. And the people said, wait a minute, you mean this guy didn't even win? And he made these promises and he's still cleaning the field? Wait a minute, this guy didn't win and he made these promises and he's still digging ditches and trenches? Wait a minute. You mean this guy didn't win and he's still building the bridges and he's still putting up lights and he's still getting a community shed? You mean this guy did not win and he's done and doing everything he said he was going to do? Wow. And the reason I say that is because there's people listening to me right now. and you're going to be in a leadership position. And you're going to make some promises. And when I say a leadership position, I'm not just talking about corporate leadership. I'm talking about personal leadership. I'm going to say that again. I'm not just talking about corporate leadership. I'm talking about personal leadership, Tracy Ward. I'm talking about personal leadership, Lawrence, Paul, Harriet. I'm talking about personal leadership, which means that you have to be a person of integrity and do what you say. You have to be a person of integrity and do what you say, because people want to follow people that they can trust. And so when you say you're going to do it, you have to do it. Now, remember this, if you say you're going to do it and for some reason you can't do it, listen to this, the minute you know, somebody type that down or write that in your notes, the minute you know, write down those words, the minute you know, 4 words, the minute you know that you can't do it, you owe it to the people that you promised to go talk to them. You owe it to the people that you told to go meet up with them. You owe it to the people that are believing you and trusting you to go connect with them. And so that means if I tell Otis, I'm coming by and I'm picking you up at 5 o'clock, and I realize it that at 5 o'clock, I'm not going to be there to get Otis. The minute I realize, the minute I know I'm not going to be there, I've got to call and tell him. I've got to call and say, Otis, you know, I told you I was going to be there at 5 o'clock. Yes, Dr. West, I'm not going to make it. I'm stuck in traffic, but don't worry. I'll be there by 5:20. And if for any reason I'm not there by 5:20, I will call ahead of time and let you know. Watch this. If you're going to be a leader, remember this principle. If you tell them ahead of time why it didn't happen, that's a reason. If you tell them after the fact, Faith, that's an excuse. Say that again, Harriet. If you tell them ahead of time, now you're giving them a reason why it didn't work. But if you go back and tell them after the fact, now you're giving them excuse, and people get tired of hearing excuses. And let me ask you, have you ever had a politician that promised they were going to do this, and then they were in office for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and it never got done? And then the next time they're running again, now they're trying to tell you why it didn't happen the last time. Sir, ma'am, that's an excuse. Nobody's trying to hear that. Yes, that's a common practice. But if you're going to be a leader, you have to learn the principle. You have to tell them what you're going to do. And then the minute you know it's not going to work or it's not going to happen, whether it's personal or professional, whether it's business life or personal life, you have to communicate to them right now and say, hey, this is what I discovered, and here's why it's going to be late. Here's why it's going to be delayed. Here's why it's going to be stopped. Here's why it's been blocked. And so I'm telling you up front. And then here's the things we're doing to try and counteract the reason why we couldn't get it done on time, or why we're not going to be able to be on time, or why I can't make it on time. The minute you know, you give them the reason. If you wait till after you're already late and then you show up, if you wait till the assignment was already due and then you come up and tell them why you didn't turn in the assignment, if you wait till when the bridge was already supposed to be built or the lights were already supposed to be put up, if you wait till after the fact, then all you're giving is excuses, and that gets old. And nobody wants to hear that. And the reason I'm telling you right now is I believe that there's some Dr. Estelle Collinses on this phone, on this call right now. I believe there's some people on this call right now that are people of their word. I believe there's some people on the call right now that have enough in personal integrity that even if they didn't get their way, or watch this, Robin, even if things didn't go their way, they're still willing to go back and follow through on what they said they were going to do. I believe there's some people on here right now. If you're the kind of person that can hold yourself to a higher standard than anybody expects of you, if you're the kind of person that will never excuse yourself, if you are the kind of person that will stand on the level of integrity that you know you've been created to bring, if you're the kind of person that's willing to set the example, type in the feed, that's me. Do it right now. Let me see if that's anybody. Is there anybody willing to say, that's me? If you're the kind of person that says, I'll make the declaration, I'll make the statement, I'll say what I'm going to do for the people that I'm going to lead, and no matter what, that's me. I'm going to do it. I'm an Estelle Collins. You don't have to go to Guyana or South America to find one. You can find one right here on this call, Dr. West. It's me. I said, Joseph said it's me. Francis said it's me. Morris, yes, that's me. I got my arm up too. That's leadership. But most people don't know how to lead when it's not convenient. Everybody knows how to lead when it's convenient. What I like about Dr. Estelle Collins is it wasn't convenient. He still lost, but he still followed through on his word. You get that? He still lost, but he still followed through on his word. Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. Do you think him following through on his word put more pressure on the person who won? Yes, it did. Right? Right? Because you know what they said? Well, wait a minute. If he's doing everything he said he was going to do and he didn't win, you're dang sure better do what you said you're going to do. Because we voted for you. You better do it. See, people always ask, do I have to be in a leadership position to lead? No. You can lead from where you're at. You can lead from behind the scenes because nobody in the community, nobody in the country doubted whether he was a leader or not. Not because he won, but because he acted on what he said he was going to do. Remember this, there's a type of language. We have a kind of language that creates things. Listen to this, everybody. We have a kind of language that creates things. It creates things. And let me tell you what that type of, let me tell you what that type of language is. I want you to put this in the feed. It's called declarative language. Declarative. When you declare something. Declarative language. Declarative language creates things as long as you act in accordance to what you declared. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to show it to you. Listen, our whole country was based on the Declaration of Independence. We just declared, no, we're free. We're free. We're independent. So declarative language changes things as long as, and here's the second part, as long as you act in accordance to what you declared. But the problem is most of us don't know ourselves as our word. Come on, Ruben. Most of us do not know ourselves as our word. Dr. Estelle Collins knows himself as his word. When he speaks it, it is so. So if he spoke, I'm going to put up lights. Guess what? Lights got put up. If he spoke, I'm going to dig ditches. Guess what? Ditches got dug. If he spoke, I'm going to build bridges. Bridges got built. He spoke it. He did it. He lived it. He declared it. He is a person that's known as his word. But most of us don't act in accordance to what we declare. So we say a lot of stuff. I'm going to do this. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this paper. I'm going to go this. And then we don't do it. But declarative language can change things. As a matter of fact, let me show you this. In the United States, I don't know how it is in Liberia, Rwanda, and Kenya, but let me tell you, in the United States, we have marriages and people come together and a lot of times they'll do them at the church or a courthouse and watch this. Our whole system of marriage is based on a two-word, listen to that, a two-word declaration. The whole marriage is based on a two-word declaration. They'll say, hey, do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold for sickness and health, better or worse, till death do you part? And all they say is, I do. And then they say, okay, do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold for better or for worse, for in goodness and in health, until death do you part? And all they say is two words, I do. And based on two-word declarations, marriage is created. And as long as they act in accordance to what they declared, it creates a life change. Everything's changed. Their whole life has changed. And the thing about being a leader is that when you use declarative language and you speak it, and the minute you speak it, your word is your bond, and they see you as your word, and they can count on everything you say. And if for any reason it doesn't get done, you come back and give them the reason, not the excuse after the fact. It's hard to beat that kind of leader. It's hard to stop that kind of leader. It's hard to not vote for that kind of leader. It's hard to not support that kind of leader. It's hard to not follow that kind of leader. And so if you're wondering what kind of leader you're going to be, you're going to be a declarative language leader. You're going to be a leader that every time you speak, your word is your bond. You're going to be a Dr. Estelle Collins leader. You're going to be a person that we can trust the things you say, and that we know that you'll follow through on what you say you're going to do. Now, let me go back. Watch this. I'm going back because I'm not only teaching you leadership principles, because I had to get that in there, but I'm also teaching you from the lesson. Now, if you looked on the lesson, somebody tell me what Y stands for. Please, somebody tell me. You can type it in or unmute. What did Y stand for?
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
A connection. You have to make a connection. It's Harriet.
Yes. So Y stand for you make the connection between the story or the people in the story and the audience members. Right, Harriet? That's what the Y stood for. So
Yeah.
now,
Yes.
thank you. Fantastic. Now let me show you how I did that. I want to, because I'm giving you the lesson, but I'm teaching you at the same time. I said that Dr. Estelle Collins was a man of his word. I said Dr. Estelle Collins followed through on what he said he was going to do. I said Dr. Estelle Collins wasn't a person that just said, go do it. He said, I'm going to do it. And then he said, come follow me. I said, Dr. Estelle Collins set the example. I said, Dr. Estelle Collins didn't just do it because everything worked out. He did it because that's who he was. I said those things, didn't I? And then look how I made the connection between the story or the person in the story and the audience. You guys are the audience. I said, there's some Dr. Estelle Collins on this call tonight. Did you see how I did that? I said, there's some Dr. Estelle Collins in this room tonight. And as a matter of fact, I said, if you feel like you're one of those people that I want you to put in the feed, it's me. That's me. Do you see how I made the connection between the story and the audience? That's the powerful lesson in this story formula. Set the scene, take them on a ride, have an obstacle, have a resolution, but you have to make the connection. Now, there's another technique I did with the story, and that's called a reveal. A reveal. The reveal was he didn't win. Notice I went through the whole story and I never told you that he didn't win. I told you what he promised to do. I told you what he committed to do. I showed you that he did everything he promised and committed to. And then later I told you, oh, and by the way, he didn't win. That was a reveal. That's a very powerful tool when you're up speaking. And I don't care if you're up speaking to a political audience, a conference, a workshop, a training. When you get them thinking one way and then flip the whole script and say, wait a minute, but what you thought would happen, boom, it didn't happen. It's a reveal. And they're like, wow, how many of you were shocked when I said he didn't win? Right? You were, weren't you? Because I set everything up to make you think that oh, okay, well, he must have won. That's why he's doing everything he said he was going to do. But then I let you go all the way through it. And then I revealed to you, he didn't win. And you were shocked. That's the shock value. But then I tied the story back into the fact that even though he didn't win, he had integrity, he had character, he had discipline, and he used declarative language, and he followed through on everything he was going to do. And then I said, you could do the same. That's how I tied you and the story together. I said, you make the connection between the people in the story or the character in the story and the people listening. Do you see, it would have been a nice story if I told you all that. And then I told you he didn't win and you would still be shocked. And you'd be like, man, that's great. But when I say, but there's an Estelle on this line right now. Some of you have the same character. Some of you have the same drive and determination and commitment, the leadership skills. Now I'm making it personal to you. So you use the character in the story to build, see how I did that, to build the people that you're speaking to. You got to challenge their way of thinking. You got to get them to believe deeper in themselves. And then you got to get them to say it. If we were all live and we were sitting in the audience, I would say, turn to the person on your right and left, look them in the eye and say, that's me, and point to yourself. And you all would have did, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. See how I involve you in the presentation? I involve you in the communication. That's a skill set. But let me tell you the number one thing to speaking, because by the time we get done, I want you all to have the ability to speak, and I want you all to be much more comfortable with speaking. But what I've found when it comes to speaking is the projection of who you are. You get that? Speaking is a projection of who you are. And the reason most people have difficulty speaking, and the reason most people have difficulty leading, is because they can't tell me who they are. Let me tell you right now. I'm gonna say it right now, right to you. Dr. West, who are you? Let me tell you who I am. I'm a balanced. Hold on, let me make my thing come out. I'm gonna just put this on full screen. I'm gonna pin my thing up so I can look right at you when I talk to you. I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities, and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. That's who I am all day, every day. I'm gonna say it again. I'm not reading notes. I have it in my head. I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities, and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. That's who I am. That's who I am. How do I know who I am? Because I went through the process to figure out who I am. But let me tell you what the challenge is. The challenge for a lot of people is the inner critic, Harriet. It's that inner voice that every time you go to step up, they say, well, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? You're not smart enough. You're not tough enough. You're not a male. You're not a female. You're not a president. Your parents weren't rich. You don't have money. You know where you're from. It's that inner voice. My PhD is in positive neuropsychology. And what I had to do in order to get to the person that could walk in and speak to presidents, knowing that I came from Topeka, Kansas, knowing that I didn't come from a rich neighborhood, knowing that my parents weren't rich, knowing that I went to a school that was called Highland Park, but they nicknamed Harlem Dark, Harlem for New York, the bad area, so that we would think that nothing bad could come from the school. There were some things I had to do with my mindset to help me see that, wait a minute, I'm not who they said they are. I'm who I say I am. And so here's what I'm going to do. I coach people all over the country. And one of the things I take them through is a process called, listen to this, silencing the inner critic. How do you stop that inner voice? How do you take its power away? How do you take its effect away? And then how do you come up with your own powerful affirmation of who you are and who you know yourself to be? I charge people all over the world for this. But guess what? The universe rewards people who take action differently than those who don't. Y'all get that? The universe rewards people who take action differently than those who don't. And so what I love about every single person on this line tonight is you've taken the time to take action. You've taken the time to show up. And so since you've shown up, what I'm going to do is this training that I usually charge a lot of money for, I'm going to give it to you for free. Watch this. There it is. Come on, somebody. I see you're clapping your hand. All you got to do, look, I just put it in the feed. All you got to do is go download it. Just go download it. Now watch this. When you download it, it's going to be me walking you through the training. If you have a phone, just scan the thing, and then it's going to be me talking you through it. It's going to be me telling you how to fill in the blanks. It's going to be me walking you through the process. And then what I want you to do is you're going to go all the way through the process. Now, my assistant is on here. My assistant, Dr. Tracy Ward, is on here, and she's very powerful. She helps me teach. But what I want you to do, Dr. Tracy Ward, is would you just put my email in the feed? Just put my email in the feed. When you go through this training, at the end, the second half is going to be where you write out who you are. It's going to be where you write out your statement. My statement, I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities, and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. So it's not hard for me when people ask me, Dr. West, can you help with this? Can you do this? Do you want to participate in that? All I do is compare it to what my statement is. And if it's something that's in line with who I am, then I can say yes. If it's not, I'll say no, unequivocally. No question, no. Thank you, but no thank you. That's not who I am. The reason I had her put in my email is because once you come up with your statement at the end of the process, I want you to email it to me. Y'all get that? Once you go through it, and you write out who you are, and you write out your statement, I want you to email it to me. Now this is some homework, and you know, the universe rewards those who take action differently than those who don't. And I'm gonna give everybody an assignment. I apologize if it's too much work for you, but you're gonna be a leader. You guys are here to be life changers. I'm trying to elevate you to the highest level that you can be. So I'm not gonna apologize for pushing you to the next level. You know why? Because I had to push myself. And so this assignment that I gave you, please have it by tomorrow. When we get on, I want some people, I want some people to unmute themselves, and they're going to tell me their statement. Dr. West, let me tell you who I am. Bam, 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 bam. I want some ladies to say, Dr. West, let me tell you who I am. Bam, 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 bam. Right? So when you download this tonight, I want you to look at it. I want you to go through it. You might have to bring it up on your computer. You may have an issue. If you can, check with Otis, see how you can figure it out. But my point is, I want you to try and complete it tonight so that when we get back on tomorrow, somebody is telling me who they are. Somebody is going through, just like me. I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. That's me all day, every day. Listen, we have a type of language that creates things, and it's called declarative language. And that's why I'm going to have you write out your declaration, because every time you say it, you get stronger and stronger. Every time you repeat it, it builds something inside of you. Every time you announce it, you draw attention to yourself. Every time you pronounce it, you create the law of attraction. There's a reason these people call me from around the world. There's a reason these people work with me from around the world. There's a reason you're on with me right now. You're on with me because you're my assignment. And I take it seriously. And so even though I charge for it, I'm willing to give it to you, because I don't believe you can beat God giving. I don't think you can. And so I'm willing to share with you. You just have to do the work. Let me review the lesson. First of all, let's look at the story time formula. I give you the first half, story, S-T-O-R-Y. Set the scene, take them on the ride, have an obstacle, have a resolution. You make the connection between the people in the story or the story and the people in the audience. And I showed you exactly how I did that. The other thing I told you is that this technique that I used for this story was called a reveal. There was something about the story that I didn't share until the very end. That was the reveal. That's the surprise. That keeps the audience hooked and engaged on your every word. That's called the reveal. The other thing I told you was that we have a form of language that creates things, and that's declarative language, that you have to declare it, and then you have to act in accordance to what you declare. And anytime you do that, you're going to change your environment. You're going to change things around you, and people are going to be drawn to you. When you act in accordance to what you declare, they know you as your word, people are going to be drawn to you. The other thing I said is that the minute you know, I said, write down those 4 words. The minute you know that you can't do what you said, whether it's personally or professionally, whether it's as a father, as a mother, as a sister or a brother, the minute you know you can't do what you said you're going to do, you have to let them know. If you let them know ahead of time, I told you, then you're giving them the reasons why it wouldn't work. I said that if you wait till after the fact, you're giving them an excuse. And then people don't like to be given excuses. Then I said the reason it's hard for a lot of people to stand up and lead, and the reason it's hard for a lot of people to stand on stage and speak, because they have not quite yet determined who they are. And then I told you that I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. And I told you I got that way from understanding that there's an inner voice that used to try and talk me out of all my goals and all my dreams and all the things that I could do and I wanted to do. It's called the inner critic. But that we have to learn how to silence that inner critic. And I shared with you that my PhD is in positive neuropsychology, and I created this training for the sake of helping us silence that inner critic, take its power away, take its authority away. And then I said, on the second half of that assignment, you're going to create your powerful affirmation. And then I told you, I had my assistant put my email in there so that you can email me your affirmation when you get the assignment completed. I don't want anybody to have any questions with what I expect for tomorrow. So tomorrow when you come back, unless there's some reason you couldn't do it, and I know if you couldn't do it, well, come on, Ruben. I know if you couldn't do it, I will know before we get on the call, because that's a reason. But after we get on the call and I tell you to unmute your line and I tell you to tell me your statement, and you say, oh, well, let me tell you why, Dr. West, you don't know what happened to me. That's an excuse and I'm not trying to hear it. And I'm excited. Who has a question or a comment for tonight?
Momo,
Yes.
you promise us fire and you deliver. I'm impressed. I can't wait for the remaining 2 days. Your lecture today was an eye opener for some of us who want to go into leadership, who want to inspire people to be great leaders. This is an eye opener for us. I can't thank you enough, Dr. West. Thank you so much for tonight.
You're welcome,
Thank
my friend. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah,
Question,
thank you very much. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Works. We want to use this time to appreciate you for the presentations. The presentation is very clear. For me, I have learned a lot of things tonight, most especially promising what to do for your constituents, the people you lead, and being involved physically with yourself and by yourself, ensuring that everything that you promise is being delivered to the people, and that shows a good moral of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that as a leader that coming out, we feel that we should learn and follow so that we can
Indeed.
make the difference for those who promise and declare, and bring out a leader that will show in promises and not laying out to the promises. So thank you. It was a very good lesson learned.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Morris. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. West.
Yes, Joseph.
Yes, thank you. From this short story narrated to us, I want to understand, is there a difference between a leader and a humanitarian?
Ask that one more time. Is there a difference between?
Between a leader and a humanitarian. You better
No.
just do good and you don't expect something in return. Like a leader will be having an objective that even though I lost the election, but I will try to do more to intimidate the person that won or to show their lapses so that I can occupy the position. So I want to know if there's a difference between a leader and a humanitarian, that people that just do good because they see the need of doing good in society.
I don't think they're not. They can be the same. A leader can be a humanitarian and a humanitarian can be a leader. So it's not like they're mutually exclusive, but you can have a humanitarian that's not a leader, and you can have a leader that's not a humanitarian. They're individual concepts that can be brought together. The key thing about leadership is leaders are there to create a level of transformation. See, when you're dealing with a lead, excuse me, when you're dealing with a leader, it's different because you go in. That's why we're working on the leadership training tonight. Or some of you might already be in leadership positions, and some of you may be on your way to leadership. But let me tell you why it's important to determine who you are now before you go into leadership. Because leadership is not a place where your character is developed. Somebody write this down, put it in your notes. You don't have to put it in the feed, but you got to remember this. Leadership is not where your character is developed. I'm going to say that again. Leadership is not where your character is developed. Leadership is where your character is revealed. That's where your character is revealed. So if you're more kind, you're going to be more kind in leadership. If you're honest, you're going to be more honest in a leadership position. If you have integrity, you're going to show more integrity in a leadership position. If you're dishonest, when they put you in a leadership position, you're going to be more dishonest because you have more things that you can be dishonest about. So leadership is not where your character is developed. That's not where you become a humanitarian. Leadership is where, if you're already a humanitarian, you get to do more of it. You get to show more of it. Now, it's not to say that you can't develop more character in the position, but what's going to come out is what's already there. If you have an orange and you cut it in half and you squeeze it, what's going to come out? Orange juice. There's no way to get mango juice out of an orange. The only thing that's going to come out is what's already there. So that's why we have to build this concept of who we are as a leader before we ever get into the leadership position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, otherwise, thank you so much. That answer just clearly my doubt on it. Yeah, leadership is not where your character is developed, but where your character is revealed. Thank you so much. At least give me a clear understanding.
And fantastic. And then remember this. There's nothing worse. Please, if you're not speaking, put your phone on mute. Put your phone on mute. There's nothing worse than a manager in a leadership position, and there's nothing better than a leader in a manager position. The worst thing you can have is a manager in a leadership position, because managers don't lead; they manage. You manage things. You lead people. Manager's job is to coordinate human and material resources. The leader's job is to provide the vision and the direction for the people that they lead. Who else has a question? Anybody else have a question or a comment about tonight? I see some comments in the chat. Thank you. I'll be able to go back through and evaluate what you put. If you thought this was valuable, thank you. I love reading the comments because I want to make it better and better every time I do it. Make sure you've already downloaded that link that I gave you. Or make sure you already copied the link so that you can go back and download it. Who else? Anybody else? Anyone?
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, I just got into class, but I think I followed the topic and talking about leadership. Can someone be born with leadership? Because oftentimes we hear people say this man is a born leader. Does that mean that somebody can be born with leadership, or it has to be triggered?
Absolutely not. They can't be born with leadership, because when they're born, there's nothing to lead, right? So when they say somebody's a born leader, what they're saying is they do it so well that it looks automatic. That's what they're really saying, is that they're saying, man, they're so good at it that it looks automatic. But let me ask you something. Is there anybody that's a born soccer player?
A born soccer player?
Yeah, or do they have to practice?
You have to practice.
Yeah.
To be- to be- to-
Is there anybody that's born a heart surgeon? There's nobody born a heart surgeon. There's training and development and practice that they have to go through. So nobody's born a leader. What makes them so good at leading is they get the leadership principles down and then they practice them on a regular basis. So my son, Robinson, is 9 years old. And every day when I wake him up like this. I shake him, and I say, you're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility. You're full of greatness and possibility. But you have to bring it out. That's how I wake him up every day. I don't focus on his behavior. I focus on his belief, because belief creates behavior. And then I give him the leadership principles at 9 years old. Hold on. Let me see if I can get him to come down here. At 9 years old, I'm already giving him his leadership principles. So I give him 9 leadership principles. Hold on, babe. Is Robinson up there? Yeah, send him down there, please. Yeah, and so at 9 years old or 10 years old, he can already tell you his leadership principles already.
So what do you?
Lauren said, what's the most effective way to silence your inner critics? Go through that training I just gave you. That's the whole process for silencing the inner critic. That training, it'll walk you through step by step, everything you need to do it. Robinson, come here. This is my son, you
Hello.
guys. Yeah, hold on one second. This is my son, Robinson.
Okay.
Come here. Robinson is 10.
All right, Robert.
And so I'm telling you that I gave you your 9 leadership principles to live by. Now, these leadership principles may change as he gets older, but his job at 9 years old was to know his leadership principles forward, backwards, in order, and out of order. So watch, I'm gonna give him a number. He'll tell you what the principle is. So Robinson, principle number 2.
Can you guys mute so we can
Yeah,
hear?
everybody put your phone on mute. Put your phone on, everybody put your phone on mute. Say it a little bit louder, please. Go ahead.
What was the number?
Number 2.
Protect women and children who can't protect themselves.
So his first principle, protect women and children who can't protect themselves, right? That's number 2. What's number 1?
You're full of greatness and possibility. You just need to bring it up.
You're full of greatness and possibility, but you have to bring it out. What's number 3?
Number 3, think before you act, think before you speak.
Right. Think before you act, think before you speak, because there's consequences to your actions. What's number 8?
Number 8.
What's number 8? 8 is the 8.
Never stop growing.
Never stop growing. You got to keep reading. You got to keep studying. You got to keep developing yourself. I don't care how old you get, you never stop growing. What's number 6?
Number 6, attack the problem, not the person.
Listen to this. This is a leadership principle. Attack the problem, not the person. Because when you attack the person, you take their confidence away. But when you attack the problem, that's completely different. You get that? Attack the problem, not the person, right? Leadership is the ability to make a point without making an enemy. I'm gonna say that again. When you get into leadership, is your ability to make a point without making an enemy. What's number 5?
Keep your composure.
Keep your composure. Nobody wants to follow a leader that flies off the handle or breaks down crying at the sign of a problem. So I tell them, you've got to learn how to keep your composure if you're going to be the leader. What's number 7?
Number 7, connect with people on all levels.
He said, connect with people on all levels. That means you got to be able to talk to presidents, and then you got to be able to go down to the lowest level and be able to connect with them, and they don't feel like you're looking down on them. They don't feel like you're judging them. You got to be able to connect with people on all levels. That's enough, son. I just wanted to show you that at 8, 9, 10 years old, I'm already teaching him the principles. Now, when he gets 16, 17, Vesti, what do you think they're going to say? Man, he's a born leader. No, he's been practicing since he was 9. You understand? So if you have children, you should be developing their leadership right now. Anyway, Y'all see how hyped I get? I get hyped and excited.
Hello,
Yes,
are you there?
I'm good.
Yeah, so taking Robert for example, now Robert is just 10 years old and he's learning the characteristics of a good leader. So when you are a leader, are there specific things you look for in a leader? What is it? Anything specific that you have to look for in a leader to know that that person is a leader?
Yeah, you have to look at how they handle themselves and how they relate to other people. Watch this. Can they connect with people on all levels? Do they make rash decisions or do they think before they act? Can they keep their composure? If things are going good, can they keep their composure? If things are going bad, can they keep their composure? Why? Because nobody wants to follow a leader that's out of control, right? Right? Do they inspire you to bring out the best in you? Do they never stop growing? Are they always reading? Are they always growing? Are they looking at market trends? Are they looking at new technology? Are they looking at new concepts? Are they bringing in new training? You see, like we had training on women in leadership. That's powerful. We had training on emotional intelligence. That's powerful. That's what leaders keep doing because it's their job to grow their whole team. Anyway, listen, I appreciate you guys being on tonight. If you enjoyed it, I'm glad. We'll be back tomorrow, same time. What I'm expecting tomorrow when we get on is I'm expecting to see that you guys have done the work. I'm expecting to see that you've completed the silencing the inner critic, you've completed the assignment. And then if you do, I'll share some more with you. But if you don't, then I'm not. I don't waste my time. But I believe in you because I believe there's some Estelles on this call. Anyway, I appreciate you guys taking the time. You're welcome for the presentation. And I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow. Make sure you downloaded the link out of the feed, and then make sure you downloaded my email so that you know exactly where to send it.
Otherwise, can you please restate the assignment?
Yes. So I gave you this link. Let me go back up here and find it again. I gave you this link. And what I want you to do is I want you to download this link. And that's going to give you this training. It's a link to my training. This is all training that I pay, that people pay for, but I'm going to give it to everyone at no charge. And this training is called Silencing the Inner Critic. And the goal of this training is to help you stop that inner voice and then figure out what your powerful affirmation is, who you are as a person. Now, the reason that's important, because when it comes to leading and when it comes to speaking, you have to know who you are. You have to know, I'm a balanced, empathetic, sensitive leader, connecting on a divine level, creating new opportunities, and guiding millions toward their God-given dreams. That's who I am all day, every day. That's why I'm here with you tonight, because I believe you have a dream to be a better leader. So I'm here to help guide you to it. So I just posted it again. I posted the link again, and then my assistant, Dr. Tracy Ward, just posted my email again. When you complete that assignment and you write your affirmation at the end, email it to me. Email it.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot at the website. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed your son with all the answers he gave. But I got a question that I posted in the chat and he didn't answer. And my question was, what are the causes of internal critics? What caused them? Is it that we're not playing, or we're not prepared, or we're not capable of doing what we think we can do? I really want to know what are the causes of internal critics.
What is the what?
What are the causes of internal critics? What are the causes of internal critics?
Maybe put it in the feed because I'm not getting it.
He said,
just
what are
He
the
trying to
causes?
say
He said,
inner
what is the
critics.
causes
What are the
of the
causes
inner
of-
critic?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. What are the causes of the inner critic? And don't worry, when you go through the training, I talk about that too. But what causes the inner critic? First of all, the inner critic has a benefit. The inner critic is designed to keep us safe. So if we saw a lion, the inner critic would say, don't, whatever you do, don't go out there. Don't get out there with that lion, right? So the inner critic's original purpose was to keep us safe. Now, the problem is it tries to keep us safe from everything. So when you don't want to go out and speak, when you don't want to stand in front of a crowd, the inner critic tries to talk you out of it. The question is, what causes the inner critic? Dr. Maxwell Maltz, in his book, Psycho-Cybernetics, he talks about how things get imprinted on our subconscious mind. And he said there's three factors. And when these three factors are present, not only do natural things come to our subconscious or in our mind, but things get imprinted on our subconscious mind. Here are the three factors. Number one, he said, it's something that's said to you by an authority figure. He said, number two, it's said to you with emotion or force. And number three, it's repeated often. When you have something that's said to you by an authority figure, it's said with emotion or force or repeated often, it gets imprinted on your subconscious mind. Like, you'll never amount to anything. You're a quitter. You're never going to have anything. No one's ever going to want you. No one's ever going to want to be with you. When they're an authority figure, said with emotion or force, repeated often, it gets imprinted on your subconscious. Now, when you stand up to go do something great, it says, you remember what they said to you. You ain't going to be anything. You can't do it. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're too dark. You're too short. You're too fat. You're too small. Your grades weren't high enough. You don't have enough money. You don't have the right background. Who your parents are. You're born poor. You're from the hood. You don't have money. And it's like boom, 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 boom. And then you know what they say? Okay, forget it. Forget it.
Sure.
Right? And so we have to have a way to combat that inner critic. And that training that I sent you is exactly how you do it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I have another training for tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the information that I shared. I'll be back tomorrow. And when I come back, I'm going to ask some of you to unmute your line and tell me your statement. So hopefully you take the time to work through it, and we'll have that information for tomorrow. Otis?
I don't call Dr. West. What do I want? I mean, like you said, CEO. He's the Chief Incursion Officer.
Hey.
Dr. West is just powerful. He's exceptional, right? He's so strong, and there is nothing strange here because